Hello everyone, welcome back to the Grand Prix Podcast. I'm Elton, this is Andy.
Hello.
And we have a very, very dull race to look forward to today.
I keep saying, what's the point of these street circuits, you know?
Dull, boring.
They're so boring and dull.
And unentertaining.
And after Le Mans, how's it going to compete? Because Formula One cars can't overtake. You can't have to rebuild the car into pits or anything like that.
It's just it's not a show anymore, is it?
In fact, you know what I think? I think we should just leave it for this week. We'll just go. You know?
Sounds good to me.
All
is
right.
what we would be saying if we hadn't had this week's race.
Yeah, I got to say, I didn't have this on the pool for what was this week's race was going to be.
No, I did not expect this. I am well and happy to eat my hat on this one.
I mean, it's a nice hat too. I mean, I've seen it. It's this nice top hat. It's got a little lace thing going on there as well. It's impressive.
It's a gentleman's hat.
It's going to be a shame to see it go, but needs must.
Wow, what I'm struggling. Give me your initial impressions of this race because I'm struggling to put them into words at the moment.
In a single line to sum it up, that's more like it.
Yeah, why not?
Basically, that's more like it. I've agreed that I will not mention the race just to the south of France that takes place around May by mutual consent. But all I'm saying is that race really has no excuse when a very similar street circuit can put on a show like this. You see, I think what you have here is you have the long straight section. So you can't just set up your car for the twisty bits. You've got to set it up for that straight as well.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't hurt, but the fact the cars are barely wide enough to get through this track single file. I mean, we saw there was a moment in the F2 race where they literally had to stop on the track. It was like it was like the M25. There's been a little fender bender sort of thing. There was a massive traffic jam.
Yeah, and then people queuing up behind as well.
All that was missing was drivers coming the other way while they're necking.
Yeah, and maybe a white van man getting out to have a look. Stand in the middle
of his iPhone, yeah.
No, film it. He'll be filming it on portrait. The dick.
Oh God, yeah.
Kids don't film in portrait.
No, you see, that's why we have Brexit. It's white van man filming things in portrait. Damn you, sir. Damn you. But no, honestly, this had everything. Literally everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was non-stop from
I'd say this was best race this season.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were bouncing around saying this was possibly the best race in the last 15 years. I mean, where do you stand with that?
That's really hard.
It is.
That's what she said.
Because I can't really remember. I can't remember last year's races, let alone this. I remember last year's Baku race was crap.
Oh, yeah. Last year was not one to write home about. Where does it stand? You got the Canadian Grand Prix, 2011 one?
It was 11 or 12, but yeah, that one.
Which was
this was probably as entertaining, but for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, just as a pure entertainment spectacle, this was definitely top 5.
Yeah, this is what we all hoped for last year. I don't know what happened. Yeah, because you had it was GP2 last year, wasn't it? But
it was GP2, but now it's F2. So
yeah, the GP2 was full of drama, and everyone was expecting that from the Formula One last year, and it was just a procession that was really dull. And I really maybe Kimi Räikkönen collecting a bag last year on his car was some of the most exciting stuff that happened. Whereas this year, at the F2s, both races were very, very good. And lots of drama going all over the pack. And yet the Formula One overshadowed that. Which is what we want. Which is what should be happening.
Well, I mean, again, I think we both came into here thinking that, this is just going to be a processional. Let's just get it over with, move on to something else. Back in proper Europe, like Austria next time out. We'll see where we go from there. But my God, this was, wow.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like Valencia, the last race at Valencia was a stonking race.
Yeah.
And now we don't go back there. So I'm more than happy to eat humble pie on this one.
Well, they should be going back again next year. It's on the calendar, I think, because that's something we're going to talk about, isn't it? Because they've announced the calendar for next year.
Yeah.
So at least we're going back there. And that'll be the telling one. If it's a good, entertaining race, then that's great. If it's like it was last year and this was just a flash in the pan. Incidentally, I have found a photo of Vettel touching Hamilton inappropriately, and I have sent it to the chat.
Excellent. Oh, look where he's touching him.
Ooh,
Oh, how
bad
did you...
touch.
Yeah.
Bad touch.
Thank you very much. I will look over that later.
You're going to end up on a list or something, mate, talking like that.
If I'm not on a list already that someone has collated by now,
it's a miracle.
After doing 8 years of podcasting, then yeah, someone's not keeping a list of certain things.
Yeah, and he's not checking it twice.
That person should be on a list.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so where do we want to start? Has anything happened? He asks, absolutely knowing that stuff has happened between this race and the last race.
But there's been a couple of minor details, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of little things that probably worth doing it. Should we start with Sauber?
Yeah, why not?
So Sauber's what was she? Team principal, was it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I can't remember how you pronounce her name, so I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, look it up because I can only remember it when I'm looking at it like any other name.
Monisha Kaltenborn, was that it?
Let's go with that.
I'm going to say Monisha. Anyway, I think she was the only female team principal apart from Claire Williams. And is Claire actually the team principal? She is, isn't she?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
she took over last year.
Yeah, because Frank's officially stepped down from that role, I believe. Anyway, I could be wrong with it. Anyway, so she has, through mutual consent, left Sauber. And by mutual consent, we mean she was fired. At least that's the buzz. Apparently, there's some new investors coming to bring some money into Sauber, which is good. We want that. We want Sauber to stick around. But the rumour, the scuttlebutt has, they want to favour Ericsson over Pascal Wehrlein.
Yep.
And she didn't want to do that. And so she has gone.
Who do you reckon's in the right there?
Well, if that is the case, I would side more with Monisha in so much as, well, it depends what they mean by favour, doesn't it, at the end of the day? Does that mean that Ericsson gets number one status in so much as he has first dibs to any upgrade parts? But I think the last time a Sauber brought a mid-season upgrade was around, what was BMW Kubica days, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. And it probably came wrapped as well. And there was like a fanfare and fireworks and everything.
So is that. Is it a case of, if they're running 10th and 11th, they expect positions to be swapped? I don't know the ins and outs of it all, basically. But yeah, no, she has left. She has ceased to be. She is an ex-team principal. Mm-hmm. And she has gone, which is a shame.
I would side with her on that because it seems like Wehrlein, even though he missed the first two races, he's proved himself definitely within the other races that we've had.
Well, he's got all of Sauber's points so far.
Has he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's only, and like you said, he's missed the first 4 races. Was it?
He missed the first 2.
First 2 races, there you go. He missed the first 2 races, and Monaco he ended up on his side, but still, he's gotten all their points, so he is the reason they're currently ahead of McLaren. Mm-hmm. And again, he's Mercedes. test driver. I'm reasonably sure Mercedes pay Sauber to run him.
Right.
So yeah.
I think if
Rules
you're the lowest team on the grid, which they are at the moment, really, and
really,
well, yeah.
Aren't we forgetting someone?
No, we're not, because if we took a certain manufacturer out of it that makes lawnmower equipment, then maybe they might be up. I think if McLaren had any other engine in that car, they'd be ahead of them.
Yes, but if wishes were horses, there'd be one in the back of that McLaren, and Alonso would have won.
Yeah, that's true.
But, anyway,
but
so apart from McLaren,
apart from McLaren, they're the worst team.
Under the usual pecking order, you would expect them to be at the bottom, which is kind of a shock, to be honest, because we don't really have the Manners or the Caterhams or the HRTs or what have you.
But to have the bottom team or one of the bottom teams into fighting or pulling strings, really they should just be pulling all their resources together and saying, look, we're trying to move forward, guys. We're dropping back. We need to move forward. And by citing one driver over another driver really hinders our performance.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, Manisha's pretty much been keeping that team together over the last few years, because, they've been going through some rough times. More than one occasion, it's been down to the will they, won't they turn up at the first race of the season. And I know she's greatly respected in the paddock. So I think this is a loss for Sauber and a loss for Formula One as a whole. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, that's right.
But we can't dwell on it too much because we have more news. There's more news. Blue flag procedure has been changed after complaints from drivers.
Yep.
So what was the new procedure? This man looks up thing on internet.
It was if you was in 1 second of a car, then you'd get a blue flag. It's now been increased to 1.2 seconds.
There you go. So just a little bit more notice, I'm guessing, for the other cars to let them know that someone's coming. So I'm guessing so they don't just kind of roll up on them. The FIA have clamped down on illegal oil burning in the cars.
Yep.
Because the rumour has it, at first we thought it was a McLaren, then it turned out it might have been a Ferrari, but either way, someone was apparently burning oil during qualifying to get just a extra bit of a kick. And so an auxiliary oil tank was removed from the Ferraris to just try and stop that happening.
Cheeky. But then you got to wonder, why don't they put more oil in the petrol? Really?
I think the petrol is actually pretty heavily regulated.
Yes. We have to give samples at the start of the season, don't you?
Start of the season, start of the races and everything as well. Yeah. I mean, that's why you have to leave a certain amount of fuel in the car at the end of a race. It's why you can't run out of fuel on the slowdown lap. So they have enough to take the sample. So yeah, they're pretty hot on fuel and everything. So yeah. But I mean, hell, when it comes to naughty things teams have done, this I mean, you compare to it was BAR back in the day, which was dropping weights in the fuel tank on the last fuel stop to make sure they were over the weight limit, wasn't it?
Well, BAR got banned from a couple of races, didn't they? They missed the Monaco Grand Prix because they had a reservoir that collected fuel.
Yeah.
And it was classed as weight, where really you should weigh the car without any fluids in it whatsoever.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a little bit naughty. Robert Kubica, he had a test in a Renault. Well, technically it was a test in a Lotus, but it was painted like a Renault, so that's fine.
Yeah, we mentioned that last time.
Did we? We mentioned it on our Le Mans one, didn't we?
No, I think it was in the other race. We mentioned it at the very end because we'd forgotten to mention it at the beginning.
Ah, well, that's fine. It was on my notes of things that happened.
I see.
Okay, so this is wild speculation. This hasn't been officially announced or confirmed, but the scuttlebutt is that the McLaren Honda divorce is now final. like it's going ahead. It's done, a done deal apparently.
Right.
Again, no one has officially said anything, but we certainly get the impression from the demeanor of Eric Boulier this weekend and things everyone's said and just everything. I mean, the whole situation is a massive clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the swearing on this podcast, just so everyone knows. But anyway, it's a massive clusterfuck. And it just... The big question is, where do they go now? And what's quite interesting is one of the names that started being floating with McLaren, I don't think anyone would have expected of all the engine manufacturers. But the current rumour is they might be taking rebadged Ferrari engines under an Alfa Romeo brand.
Right. Okay. Okay. Can you see that happening though? They're mortal enemies, Ferrari and McLaren. That's the way it should be.
It should be, but the point being made was, yes, it's a different. The brands are competing, in so much as you've got Ferrari and McLaren sports cars are vying for position, but Alfa Romeo and McLaren aren't really.
Yeah.
In there. There's the only other option really for McLaren on the grid is Mercedes, because I don't think we're going to go for a Renault. Because you're just trading one. You're trading the very back of the grid for the next one up, basically.
Yeah.
And they want to be up at the front. So it really comes down to a choice between a Ferrari and a McLaren engine. Now, everyone's always discounted Ferrari, as you say, because of a bad blood. But there's two individuals no longer racing with those teams, Ron Dennis and Luca de Montezemolo.
Yeah.
Zemolo. And neither of them are now with the teams. So the thought was a lot of the bad blood was down to individuals. So possible. I still don't think it's likely. I still think Mercedes is far more likely one. But I think an announcement will be made possibly by British Grand Prix.
Right. Okay.
Announcing a split. That'll be my guess.
And that'll be a guaranteed. Yeah, this is a termination.
Well, I think the only chance Honda has to try and head this off is if this Spec 3 engine comes in at Austria and shows not only significant gains in speed but in reliability. Because Alonso had a 40-place grid drop because of an engine change.
Yeah.
And I think Van Dorn had a 30-place grid drop.
Yeah, it was the size of a car park. Their grid drop, really.
Yeah, and this is the 8th race of a 20-race season.
Wow. Yeah, it was a huge amount of spaces to be dropped, and
I think at this point I'd quite like the FIA to actually change that rule. So in MotoGP, when Suzuki came back into it, and I think when Ducati were struggling as well, they were a lot more lenient on things like tyres and engine changes with those teams. But as soon as they got a podium, those rules went away. So it's like, we'll give you extra help to get you up to the point where you're getting podiums. But once you get there, you're back on this level pegging field of everyone else. And I think at this point, they need to do something like that with Honda. It's got to be, look, just do what you got to do. Spend all the money you fucking want to spend. The second you've got a podium, though, that privilege goes away.
Yeah.
Because they've got to do something at this point. And you're sticking a 40-place penalty on a team which is already 15 miles an hour slower down the straights. That's kicking the puppy when it's down. That's kicking the special kid.
Well, it's pretty null and void anyway, isn't it? Because at best, it's going to be a 10-grid penalty.
Yeah.
Because they make it into the top 10, maybe, and then, okay, they're only losing half a grid. So saying 40 positions just doesn't mean anything. I'm glad it's not carried over, because that would be absolutely ridiculous.
But again, it's like we saw with Monaco with Jenson Button, and then Canada with, again, Alonso. you think, oh, there might be, finally a chance of something. And no, they're down. They're starting from the pit lane, or they're starting at the very back. And I understand the reason the rule is there. I totally understand that reason, to keep the cost down. But at this point, if Honda doesn't start dropping some coin, well, they're spending the money anyway. At the end of the day, they have to. They don't really have a choice here. It's not like they're doing it maliciously, like, you will get extra power by having a new engine every race. It's like, no. Their engines are just bags of spanners at this point. So I think if it were me, I would like to see an FIA directive where if an engine is unable to achieve a podium, or up until the point that the engine is able to achieve a podium, it's exempted from grid penalties for engine replacements.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like your thought on that. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me thought. The only other thing isn't really F1 news. It's just what's his name? Todd's going for the FIA presidency for his third and final term, and it looks like he's running unopposed. So there you go.
Yeah, he'll probably get back in there unless I decide to put my foot in there. But he'll probably beat me.
Well, I'd like to say you'd have my vote. I'd like to say that.
Thank you very much. I look forward to taking my position very, very soon.
There you go. So yeah, that was kind of what happened in between.
Okay, so moving on to free practice then, yeah?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, well, I saw most of FP1, a little bit of FP2, and a smidgen of FP3.
Yeah.
Because I've been quite busy this weekend.
But I saw none of it because I have a life.
Fair play. Well, lucky you. I'll just go through the bits I know, okay? Okay. We had lots of spins, as we would expect, because of it being a street circuit, it being very dirty, and there being practically no rubber laid down anyway. Mm-hmm. A lot of this, or some of this tarmac is fresh tarmac, very thin as well, because it goes over cobblestones.
Yes. Also, I don't know if we should mention this now or later, but there was a lot of complaints about the tyre choice Pirelli nominated.
Right.
The drivers all saying they chose far too hard a compound.
Right. Okay.
They brought medium, soft, and super soft.
And they should have brought the ultra softs, I suppose.
Yeah, they should have brought soft, super soft, and ultra soft.
Right. Okay.
In fact, I don't think they're going to bring the medium tyres again this season now.
I wonder, have they got a hard compound?
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, they must have a warehouse full of that stuff. That is just going into plant pots, isn't it?
I still don't quite get why they have to nominate these things like 6 months in advance.
Yeah. Well, it's production, isn't it? To work out how many to produce.
Fair enough, but I mean, surely if you realise you made a mistake, you can just pull some of the ones off of the production line early and just
colour them in differently.
just get a different marker pen. It'll be fine. Who's going to know?
Why not? No, you are on the ultra softs. Honestly, no, I don't care if they're not biting. That are the ultra softs.
You see the colour?
Exactly. It's all in the colour.
Yeah.
All in the colour. Anyway, right. Lots of spins. We had Bottas spinning over the castle brow. We had a possible loose man cover as well.
Didn't we have that last year?
I don't know, but it was the normal, they should be welded down, blah, 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 blah. And I was okay, right. Haven't they seen the Mythbusters episode?
Apparently not.
No, but, But then again, the Mythbusters didn't go over with the tyres, did they? They just went over just to prove that they could be sucked off.
Euphemism!
There we go.
Wait, that's the wrong podcast.
That's right. I'll just load the gun and let you fire it.
Yeah.
But nothing really came of that. We had Perez, who wiped out. He went, I can't remember what turn it is. I think it is turn 8. Yeah, turn 8, coming up.
Yeah.
The very shallow corner. We'll talk about that in a second. He lost it on the curb. It speared him over onto the other side of the track, and he wiped out one whole side, which brought out the red flag for a little while. And the Red Bulls finished 1-2 with Verstappen on top.
Way.
Free practice 2, Grosjean was having his normal brake problems, which he normally does, complaining all the way through about it being a long pedal and not having enough brakes, etc.
Oh, he's complaining about something different now. He's complaining about how much time we spend complaining about his radio messages.
Well, maybe he should learn.
You'd
really
think
should
so.
Learn. Yeah. Kvyat did a nice 3-point turn. I think near turn 8 as well. There's lots of people going off on the runoffs, and it was quite entertaining just to watch.
Didn't they have to modify turn 8 after a few of these? Because I think it was FP2 when Massa clipped it.
Yep, Massa clipped it.
Massa and then, was it Palmer?
I don't remember. I think there were a few close calls, but yeah, that was after FP2. It went on to FP3 and they'd already reprofiled it.
Yeah.
Which, I want to talk to you about that very quickly in a minute. We had Verstappen hit the wall as well, which was quite entertaining. He destroyed the left-hand side and the rear of his car in that. FP3, the curb was reprofiled to provide a wider entry into turn 8, thus stopping people running wide and hitting the kink turn 9-ish. And I don't think anyone else. There was a couple of clips on it, but it's
well. You got to say they probably did the job because no one else clipped it all weekend. I think.
Yeah.
In qualifying or in the race itself.
Yeah. Let's talk about the curb now then. Why not?
Well, okay, fine, but very, very, very quickly, just also mention in practice FP3, Palmer had a fire.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. But anyway, talk about the corner.
The corner. Now they reprofiled it. It was maybe an inch or two high corner that jutted right out on a left-hand turn 8.
It caused for traffic jam in F2.
Yes, which was highly amusing.
It was most amusing. Yes.
Now I bad-mouthed Azerbaijan last year for having this section on the track because I feel if you can't fit 2 cars either side, then really it has no reason to be on that circuit. It was like the old turn 10 in Shanghai.
Excuse me, sir. That's my entire complaint about the race down in Monte Carlo.
But you can fit the cars everywhere.
Oh, you could fit the cars if you like. Position them side by side. You can.
You can.
You can't run cars side by side.
You can. You can. There's plenty of room in Monaco to fit 2 cars side by side. Plenty.
Moving on.
This point here
Moving on.
is a proper bottleneck choke point. And it's like turn 10 in Shanghai. No, Singapore, sorry. Not Shanghai. Where before the bridge, you had that horrible 3-apexed chicane where Kimi Räikkönen came a cropper in 2008 or 2009. And it was supposed to bottleneck people so they would run over the bridge single file. Now, if you want people to run single file, you actually are trying to make people run single file through a section. Then why have that on that circuit? It bugs me. But they reprofiled this so people would have a smoother entry and you wouldn't have as many problems. And although I like the idea of them trying to navigate this part, I'm really torn on this. I don't think it should be on the circuit, but it provided something for the circuit this time round. But taking it away, you didn't remove anything from it. If anything, you got cars going up that hill quicker.
I think with that section there, it's certainly a visual, like just seeing it as they go up that hill, you get a real sense of the speed the cars are carrying through there, given how narrow it is and, the high wall of the old castle. So I think it's kind of cool in a visual sense. But yeah, I think when they reprofiled that corner, they didn't lose anything. And like you said, they got through it a bit faster and no one was hitting it. So as entertaining, it's one of those ones where it's the implied sense of danger than the actual danger. And I think that's better. You want to think like they might hit it without any real chance of them doing it unless they really mess up. Whereas as it was before, we saw multiple times they were hitting it over and over again. So
yeah, I suppose we don't really want the circuit blocks like F2. We don't really want to come across that because that's just a bit embarrassing, isn't it? A little bit embarrassing, but there we go.
Little bit. Incidentally, just quick sidebar on the whole F2 thing. I don't know. Does Charlie Whiting run those races? Because whoever does really should have pulled out a red flag the second that it was obvious there was a fucking crash there.
It took a long time, didn't it?
It did. And even then, they weren't sure if they were going to do it or a safety car or what. It's just like, no, that's a red flag right there. But anyway.
Well, maybe he was having a coffee break. I don't know.
Possibly. Having a quick wank round the back.
We've all been there.
What, Azerbaijan?
Anyway, right.
Moving on.
that was FPs anyway.
Yes.
Qualifying.
Yes.
Palmer didn't take part because we already know that he had a fire in FP1.
Yep, and the McLarens
Or
just
FP3,
did lip service to do the 107% since they were going to be starting. They may as well have been starting back in Canada. They had so many fucking grid plate penalties.
It was crazy, yeah. Jolyon Palmer had to go see the stewards to see if he would be allowed to race because he couldn't set a time in Q1.
Yeah.
And I like to think that the stewards probably sat there and went, well, what do you think?
Well, I suppose the car is capable of doing it.
And he sat there rocking on his heels. Go on, let me in. Please let me in.
Oh, please, sir. Please. I promise I'll be good.
Oh, dear. No, you're not.
Yeah.
What else happened? Nothing really happened.
That was about it, really. I mean, because of that, Grosjean didn't make it through with his brake problems.
Yep.
And
Ericsson dropped out. Alonso dropped out.
Yeah. Both of McLarens just did the one run anyway, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was just do it and just get out.
In Q2, Massa had a bit of a moment on one of his laps. It was a bit of a messy lap, but also exciting for everyone else to look at and watch.
Yeah.
I think he had at least 3 near misses during that lap, and it was just a wonder to behold. And his car skills were just amazing. So,
it was outstanding. Yeah.
Apart from that, nothing really happened. Who went out in Q2? Pascal Wehrlein, Nico Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen, Carlos Sainz, and Daniel Kvyat.
Bearing in mind, obviously, Sainz has a 3-place penalty from the collision with Massa from the previous race.
That's right.
Which we speculated at the end of the last one, but they made it official afterwards.
Yep.
Although technically it wasn't a collision with Massa, it was a collision with Grosjean, which then led to him hitting Massa. But still, we digress.
He caused an incident, didn't he?
Oh my, yes, quite the incident.
Now Q3.
Q3, yes. This was interesting.
It was very interesting, actually. Yes. Hamilton swiped the wall. I think a couple of people actually brushed the wall during qualifying.
But there was a few people were imprinting Pirelli on the side of the wall. There was one bit in particular. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I just remember there was one wall, and it was where the Force Indias ended up colliding in the race.
Oh, okay, yep.
But yeah, that wall just had like black rubber marks all the way down it.
Yeah, everyone was tagging that, weren't they?
Yeah.
It all got a bit tetchy towards the very end of this session, as it normally does in Q3. It was a case of Bottas was on top for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And then Ricciardo tagged the wall.
It was a weird one as well, wasn't it? We hadn't seen anyone else really come off at that point.
No, he just spun it up at the back and it just hit at the back. It was very weird. I don't think anyone else really hit that wall throughout the whole race weekend. I think it was just a blind mistake, should we put it down to?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure he took full responsibility for that, but that's the way it goes. And then Lewis Hamilton had to put in a stonking lap. We had Vettel quite far down as well. I think he was 8th or 9th at the time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was all the way at the back. I mean, the only one below him really was It was Ricciardo, wasn't it?
Yeah, and maybe Stroll.
Yeah.
Maybe Stroll. But then Hamilton put in what he likes to think is one of his perfect laps.
Yeah.
And how far he was half a second clear of Bottas. Nearly a second clear of anyone else.
It was half a second clear of Bottas. I mean, fair play to him. It was pretty much spot on. And you're bearing in mind the horrible race he had here last time out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was. Say what we will about Lewis, and we say a lot, but doff our hats. When he gets it right, he really gets it right.
Yes, yeah, and he seems to be in a rich vein of it at the moment as well. Canada was a special lap as well.
Yeah.
And so when he claimed his pole position here, was it his 66th?
66. He's 2 behind Schumacher's record now, I believe.
Yeah, which puts him clear second in the total
all-time
league.
poles.
That's the words I'm looking for, yes. So yeah, let me just run down the top 10 for us. It was Lewis Hamilton taking pole position. Valtteri Bottas was in second. Kimi Räikkönen third, out-qualifying his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Max Verstappen was fifth. Sergio Perez was sixth. Esteban Ocon was seventh. Lance Stroll out-qualified Massa for the first time this season in eighth. Massa was ninth. And Daniel Ricciardo, who hit the wall early on, was 10th. Now, I don't think there was any grid penalties for the top 10 anyway, so that didn't change for the actual start, did it?
No, I mean, total penalties were Sainz had a free place penalty, so he qualified 12th but started 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Fernando Alonso, who qualified 16th, but obviously he has 40 grid penalties, and as we all know, 16 plus 40 means 19. Stoffel Vandoorne qualified 19th, but he has 30 grid penalty, and as we know, 19 plus 30 equals 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. He's ended up starting ahead of where he qualified. Because Alonso obviously went behind him, and Palmer, because Palmer set no time, was right at the back. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant! Yeah.
Makes no fucking sense.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, anyway, there we go. Should we go into the race?
I guess. I mean, hell, man, I might need to take a deep breath here.
Right.
Okay, I'm good.
Here we go. Right. I think the initial get-off was quite clean.
Yeah, I don't think there was any dramas or anything like that. I mean, you had Bottas effectively facing Hamilton off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
Into the first corner, you had a weird moment where Kvyat ran wide, and then as he's coming back on, made Sainz jump out of his skin and just spin in the middle of nowhere. And it's just like, there was no contact was made. Didn't go anywhere near him, really. But I think he was probably a bit jumpy after what happened in Canada. So Sainz was just like, nope, just spun in the middle of the road.
Yeah, if you could put a speech bubble on that, it'd just be nope.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah, I think Kvyat went a bit too hot into turn one and nearly took out one of the Williams, which
he had his wheel. I think his front right locked all the way up into turn one, so he probably flat spotted the hell out of it.
Yeah,
but yeah, he went right into ran right off at turn one, and as he's coming back on, just kind of scared the living bejesus out of Sainz.
Yeah, you almost saw his spirit leave his body. As that other Toro also came out in front of him, and yeah, he ended up spinning and ended up right at the very back. Now, turn two was where it all kicked off.
Oh yeah, turn two. I mean, so basically, you had Raikkonen got an amazing start, and he was pretty much jockeying for second place. Lewis was more or less home free. Bottas was coming along the inside into turn two, hit the curb, and was launched a little bit, like 2 wheels off the ground or sort of thing, which basically meant he was a passenger, and he went right into Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah.
in doing so, causing himself a bit of damage and also giving him a front right-hand puncture.
Yeah.
So he's got to make his way back through. I think Kimi was generally okay, but he did slow down a lot while he was doing checks on the car or something, wasn't he? I think it was just a bit... What was that?
I think he was quite lucky. He did sustain a bit of floor damage on the left-hand side.
Yes.
And his right-hand rear wheel clumped that wall after the initial impacts from Bottas.
Yeah.
I think he got away with that big styly. Really did.
To be fair, we saw quite a few cars clocking the walls with what seemed like a fair bit of force and just shrugging it off.
Yeah.
So, fair play to some of these manufacturers. They make those cars properly solid.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, it was that. Now I think it was about this. I think it was debris from that Ricciardo and I think Verstappen as well ended up sucking into their car.
Yeah.
But Ricciardo had something go into a brake duct and was leading to brake overheating.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Verstappen came over the radio saying he thinks he hit debris, but they just said they didn't actually pit him or anything. So
yeah,
I have to assume it was all okay. But yeah, you had Bottas.
Well, this sent Bottas right to the very back, didn't it?
Bottas was right to the back, and he had to come in and have a new front wing put on.
And he was a lap down when he came out.
He was a lap down, yeah. I mean, this is why it felt a bit like Le Mans at this point, because he's coming out just as the field was coming by, wasn't he?
Mm.
And again, it's just a bit like, yeah, come on, boys.
Never give up. Never give up.
Never give up. So he came out then. I think Van Dorn also pitted at that point to try and just get rid of his. I think he was on the soft, so he went on the ultra softs. I think, the super soft.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, he pitted around the same time as well, and it was around this time as well. Ricciardo pitted. It might have been lap 2, because again, his brakes just weren't behaving, and it turned out they were overcooking.
Yeah, we had Palmer go out as well with a problem. He had a power unit problem.
Yeah,
I think he was classified as the first retirement as well. Only got 7 laps under his belt, and he was already out.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, again, at this point, it does feel like kicking a puppy when he's down with Palmer. I mean, It's a technical problem. We can't really hold him to fault, but I've got to say, I'm still unimpressed with Palmer. There was better drivers out there deserving of Formula One seats.
Mm.
Why is he getting it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Brundle said this in commentary. He said Palmer's probably going to be allowed to see out the season just to make up for the bad luck he's had. But he's not done anything to show that he's worthy of that seat.
No, he really needs to get a move on. I know we promised not to slag him off until the mid-season break, so we won't. But yeah, he needs some luck as well, I feel.
A bit of luck. As we saw with Lance Stroll, luck can go a long way, but equally so, he's just not bringing it, and it doesn't help when you got Nico Hülkenberg in the sister car, and it's not like he's got first team status where he's got special bits on the car. No, he's same bloody car, and he's literally driving rings around you.
Mm.
So yeah, but yeah, that was him out, and then it kind of seemed like we were just settling in for a bit of a lazy Grand Prix, wasn't it? It's like, oh well,
Yeah, I was enjoying the race. Alonso was getting quite racy though. I felt.
Absolutely.
He was looking good.
He was having fun, and that was all good. And you had Vettel up at second place, sort of thing, But again, Hamilton was very much in control. But then I think it was Kvyat broke down, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he parked his car, and there was no real way to recover it without a safety car, was there?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm quite glad the safety car came out. I thought they were going to throw a VSC on this and try and get it moved. But the car was... Imagine this being in the 90s. That car was out the firing line, and that car would have stayed there on the sideline until the end of the race.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, as Brundle said, if you'd have to do something pretty spectacular to be able to try and find that car.
Yeah. But they someone warranted, right, we need a safety car on this.
Yeah.
And so they threw it for it.
Yeah. And I got to say, if you like safety cars, well, this was the race for you.
Yeah, well, as that was being thrown, Verstappen and Perez were getting very, very close as well.
Uh-huh.
And they were battling quite well, and I was quite enjoying that. And then the safety car came out, and Verstappen, all of a sudden, he lost oil pressure, and that was it. He was gone.
Yeah, he was gone. Oh, no!
Yeah, well, we saw the puff of smoke. Whether that was smoke or whether he just bottomed out or not, I'm not too sure. But he's one of the shining lights we have in Formula One at the moment. And to watch him just retire on a mechanical issue is sad to see, I feel.
It's always, it doesn't matter who they are. We don't really want to see drivers being taken out by a mechanical issue. But I will say, having a high amount of mechanical attrition with the cars did spice up the race today quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, it helped.
So it did help, I think. But yeah, we don't generally want to see it come down to, because, I mean, hell, how many times has, the McLaren's just been fucked over by it? So yeah, it's just not something we really want to see. And again, it's really weird why we're seeing it now in the third year of these regulations.
It is, yeah.
But again, I think it was Ted Kravitz maybe said, they're trying to make these cars lighter all the time, pushing the margins a little bit. So you just make the wall of something just a little bit too thin. Something just doesn't quite able to live up to the tolerances. Hell, I mean, the engine in the back of Vettel's car has done 4 races, hadn't it? So, there you go. But yeah, it was a bag of spanners. It pulled into the pits. They swapped the steering wheel, and that was it. I will just say, just going back to Palmer very quickly, it was weird seeing him cruise into the pits with the engine off, wasn't it?
Yeah, didn't he stop on the fast lane of the pit lane, and they had mechanics come out?
He was told to kill the engine and to cruise in, which he did. But then I think he just ran out of momentum, and I think the rules are, I can't remember. Are the team allowed to go and touch the car outside of the garage?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Okay. It was Marshall's pushing him back, but anyway, yeah. They pushed him away from there, but I digress. Yeah, Verstappen was out, and it was a real shame, because again, I reckon, well, anyone could have been up for the win today, but it have certainly made it a bit more interesting having the 2 Red Bulls fighting over it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But okay, so we had our first safety car, and
we did, yeah.
It was Hamilton noted that the safety car was going way too slow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, we've seen safety cars year in, year out now.
Yes.
And we know that they don't purposely go slow.
Yes.
So is this down to the change in the cars where they have a bit more grip around the corners, and so it may seem that the car seems a little slower in the corners?
Uh-huh. I think it might just be a quirk of this circuit more than anything.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a safety car last race, did we?
In Azerbaijan, no.
Yeah. No, I didn't think we did.
That's what we were missing last year.
That's what we were missing last year, yeah. No, I just think it might have been just a quirk of this circuit. Because, again, it's the mix of the long straights, the very tight, twisty technical bits, plus they brought the 2 harder compound tyres, so they're very hard to get heat into at the best of times. And they kept finding that you've got the heat and the shadows, and it just meant it was very inconsistent where you were getting heat on the track. So it just meant the cars just didn't have the grip in the corners and stuff like that, and they were just struggling, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were behind that safety car until lap 16 when they went to resume.
Okay.
But then, the safety car goes in, they go racing, they get to the second corner, and in a repeat of the Bottas and Raikkonen thing, the two Force Indias collided. Awkward.
Hang on, no, wasn't there another safety car? I think there was another safety car.
Well, there was 3 safety cars in total.
Yeah.
There was the first one, which was
the Kvyat
caused by Kvyat. Then there was the second one,
which debris.
Was caused. Yeah, no, the second one was Ocon and Perez.
No.
And then the third one was the because of the debris.
No,
and that's when they red flagged it.
The second one was Kimi Raikkonen had bits falling off his car.
No, bits were falling off his car, but that's not why they called the safety car. They called the safety car because of the Ocon and Perez collision, leaving debris. I mean, it was leaving debris, but that was the main reason for it.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine. Fine, cool.
At least that was my recollection. It was hard to keep up. There was a lot of safety cars.
Yeah. Well, at one point we had Perez nearly out dragging Vettel.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see.
Uh-huh.
I like a challenge on a Ferrari every now and again.
Yes.
That's it's surprising, but I suppose you got a Mercedes engine in that Force India, which is going 10 to the dozen. It was Hamilton that really left everyone else standing, and the Ferrari didn't really look like he was on his heels whatsoever. It was almost as if he was caught sleeping.
Yeah.
And Perez had, I don't think it had DRS. DRS wouldn't have been activated then. But
no, it's usually 2 laps after racing resumes, isn't it?
Yeah, but he had a real good slipstream on him and nearly got him into the first corner, which didn't happen. Then we also had the Ocon and Perez situation. Now, this is very embarrassing for the Force Indias. Very embarrassing indeed, I feel. And who do you think's at fault on this one?
That's a racing incident. It's a carbon copy of the Bottas Raikkonen incident, really. And again, it's just, you're being behind a safety car, tyres and everything are slow, are cold, just not up to temperatures and all that. You're going for, 2 into 1 will not go. Yeah. And there you go. I don't think either of them were to blame for it. I mean, hell, if you don't go for that, as Ayrton Senna said, if you see a position, if you see a space and you don't go for it, you're no longer a racing driver.
Mm. Yeah, but that crash also took out Kimi Raikkonen because he was the next car up, and he just unluckily collected the front wing of Perez, I think it was, because Perez got a lot of damage on this, didn't he?
Well, yeah, quite a bit, the front wing and everything, and a fair amount of that. But hell, it was just one of those. This was not a good day to be Kimi Raikkonen.
No, he had a shocker. He ended up with a puncture off of this, which
destroyed the back end of his car, didn't it?
Oh, it delaminated everything, didn't it?
Well, it destroyed the upright on the rear wing. Destroyed. This was a carbon copy of the Toyota from Le Mans, effectively. Yeah. He was going too quick trying to get back. Yeah. And it's just destroying the back end of it. And he made it back in. And they decided to try and repair it because they could see with the attrition, it was conceivable he'd end up with only 10 runners, so he might have been able to get a point. Little did we know that there'd soon be another safety car period shortly and then a red flag, so he'd be all right. But
yeah, that's right. So Kimi came into the pit. Well, we had Perez come into the pits. He had a broken track rod, didn't he? Or yeah, I think it was the track rod on his car. That was bent. We also had Kimi come in. They wheeled him in and said, do you know what? We're out. And then we had the red flag come out because...
No, you're missing something.
Am I missing something?
A little something that might have happened.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Well, we had the safety car then, yeah?
No, and so we have the second safety car.
Well, yeah,
which was...
this is where I'm getting lost a little bit because...
Right. You had 2 safety cars, as in safety car out, safety car in.
Yeah.
The third safety car, though, then became a red flag.
Right.
So on the second safety car, after the Perez, Ocon, we need to clean up some of this debris. This was when they were about to restart, and this was when we had the incident between Hamilton and Vettel. So what happens here is that we notified safety cars going in this lap, fine. Control of the train has gone over to Hamilton.
Yep.
And again, you're trying to keep your heat in your tyres, heat in your brakes, everything else like that. Now, Vettel alleges that Hamilton brake tested him coming out of is it the last corner or the second to last corner?
Right, where the actual incident occurred.
Yeah, it was.
Hang on, it was.
I think it was turn 19.
I'm looking at the map. Turn 16 is the final corner onto the flat.
It'll be. It was 16 then.
I think it was 15 where it actually happened.
Okay, well, 15 or 16. But anyway, so what happened was Vettel ran into the back of Hamilton.
Yep.
But then and damaged his front wing quite substantially, lost both of the end plates and most of the elements. But then what he did, in a fit of rage, and it's the only way you can describe it as a fit of rage, pulled alongside Hamilton and banged wheels with him while waving a hand.
Yeah.
And then Hamilton just hit the safety car line and he was gone. And funnily enough, all of a sudden we're notified that Vettel is under investigation. Now, as things would transpire later that lap, because of the amount of debris on the track still there, they first called a safety car, but then they instantly went for a red flag as well. So the safety car picked them up, but then led them back into the pit lane.
Yeah.
So all of this, from that first safety car to this, was like 8 laps. Yeah. We had 3 safety cars.
Right. And there's one thing I want to dive into just before we talk about the Hamilton-Vettel bit.
Okay.
Did Kimi Räikkönen and Perez get back to the pits during the safety car before the red flag was thrown?
Yes.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. Well, then that leads me to question something later on.
Right. Do you want to question it now, or should we wait until later?
Okay, I'll question it now. They both got penalties for not working on their cars in the fast lane of the pit lane. But the red flag hadn't been thrown when they got back to the pits. So how can they get penalised for that?
I think it was... They got back under it, but then the red flag went out, but they were still working on the cars. But
if they're not in the train to go into the pits as the red flag is thrown...
Oh, I think with Kimi's case, they put him out in the train, but then did some tweaks, I think.
No, he came straight out of the garage and then went down the inside lane, and then he was sent out before the rest of the field.
Ah, well, I must have missed that as well. I mean, maybe it might have been under the red flag they went in, but I'm pretty sure it's before that, because they got about a lap. They got a lap because Vettel was going to have to come in for a new front wing after the collision, but he didn't, because the third and final safety car was deployed before they were around the next lap. So by the time he limped back around, it might have been, I don't know.
I think it's a bit harsh that they got penalties for it. I think Perez and Kimi Räikkönen shouldn't have got penalties for that. I may be missing that ever so slightly. The red flag might have already come out before they started working on it. But I don't know. I think that's a little unfair. Unfair. But should we get back to the Vettel situation then?
Well, I suppose we should. So I've just seen that the FIA have released the telemetry for Hamilton and showed there was no evidence in the telemetry that he either brake tested or lifted off unexpectedly in that corner. He was consistent with what he'd done in the previous starts and throughout the safety car period and everything. So basically, Vettel wasn't paying attention and ran into the back of Hamilton.
Yeah. And
then got really angry with Hamilton and decided to clatter his wheels. And then denied anything happened.
Right. If the telemetry is saying that there's nothing untoward that he hasn't done in the previous safety cars, then possibly he could have lifted off.
No, he said there's no evidence of brake testing or lifting off.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, okay. Vettel was caught napping once again and hit the back of a Mercedes.
A little bit. I got to say, it was a little bit of War and Peace Vettel this weekend.
Right. Yeah. This is an interesting situation. It really is. Because when I first saw it, okay, what are your first initial impressions of what actually happened?
My first impressions were, especially looking at it from the front, was just Vettel had gone into the back of him, because it didn't appear that Hamilton had slowed down untowardly. Mm-hmm. It was what he's done pretty much throughout. He's controlling the train, he's slowing it down because he's about to make his dash. And it's like, this is the second safety car. We've seen him do it the last time around. And it's something he always does. He likes to slow him down before the last straight and the getaway, and then he likes to go like a greyhound. Mm. And frankly, this is something Vettel used to do all the time back when he was on the Red Bulls. But I think Vettel just wasn't, because it was really clumsy as well. Clumsily went into the back of him. Mm. And yeah, just off he went. And yeah, I just think Vettel was caught napping. And maybe in his mind, he was brake tested just because all of a sudden there's a Mercedes there he wasn't expecting. But I got to say, I can't really put any of the blame on Hamilton from what I saw.
Yeah.
And yeah, at that point, and again, Vettel just kept digging a hole for himself by not just putting his hands up and said, "My bad."
Yeah. What about his collision to the side of Hamilton? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as a human being race fan who wants a bit of spice in his rivalries, I was like, yeah, go on, do it. You want this, don't you? Take your weapon, strike me down, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
Good.
Good. Yeah, it went a bit Palpatine there. So in that respect, yeah, that was entertaining. But as from a sportsman standpoint and just like in fair racing, it was unnecessary. And quite frankly, I think he should have been disqualified for that.
Yeah.
It's clearly deliberate. You can't make any argument there that it was an accident. You can't, you can usually when there's causing a collision, it's because you've made a clumsy attempt at a pass.
Your mic's crackling.
Like that.
Just pull it out, pull it in.
That's what she said. Usually in these incidents, when it's you're getting a penalty for causing a collision, it's been a clumsy attempt at a pass. You've gone into a corner and run out of talent and collided with someone or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's usually your plan wasn't to clout off the other car. You were just doing something. This, okay, maybe he wasn't planning to clout the car. He was clearly pulling up alongside the leader, which is not allowed under those circumstances. You're going to stay behind the car in front because, you're under effectively parade lap rules or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, he went straight into him.
Yeah,
that should have been a disqualification, frankly.
Right. Yeah.
Ask yourself this: what if he damaged Lewis's suspension and took him out, but he was able to continue?
Oh, then yeah. Ooh.
What would we be saying then? That's up there with bloody Michael Schumacher in Adelaide '94.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just the fact that these cars are quite tough these days that you can get away with that kind of contact. A couple of years ago, you couldn't.
No.
And again, you just catch it the wrong way. And that's the thing. It's if he'd have taken Hamilton out and then Hamilton was, again, broke the wishbone. And even if Hamilton could have limped back to the pits, and he's out, and then all Vettel gets is a 10-second stop and go, we'd be up in arms.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this now.
Oh, please do.
Because there's a lot that could go on about this, because there's something to do with the penalties after as well. I initially thought Hamilton didn't brake test him. Hamilton just lifted off. Now, Hamilton had prior to this, on the other two safety cars, had already mentioned that the safety car was going slow. And so when he became the safety car and the safety car was pulling off on the long straight, he was giving himself extra bump to get down that straight, because it seemed like he knew that Vettel was coming under attack from the Force Indias and the Williamses behind him at the time. So I can see Hamilton's idea in that.
Yeah.
If the telemetry says that he didn't back off, if the telemetry says he didn't brake, then it was clearly Vettel's fault and he got caught out. Maybe he put his... I'd like to see his telemetry side by side on that corner to find out what happened there. Maybe
what I'd like to see? I'd like to see it on board from him. Just in a sense of, was he adjusting a brake balance or something? Was he just glancing in a mirror?
Well, we did get the onboard from Vettel.
Yeah, we did. Let me see if I can.
But we don't really see anything on the wheel that he's adjusting.
No,
I think he just got caught out. Now,
yeah,
but the closing speed is so rapid that it does seem like Hamilton lifted off. And I get his grievance, but he has clearly made the mistake on that. Then him swinging out. So Vettel has made one mistake already. Him swinging out and then raising his arm. I'm really not trying to wind people up on this, but I personally don't think his thought pulling up alongside him was to hit Hamilton.
No, of course not.
I think he has inadvertently hit Hamilton because his wheel is just turned, and for it just to coast around and hit the wheel perfectly, no, it just doesn't seem like a purposeful hit to me. I think it is a mistake. He went alongside, he wanted to gesture to Hamilton, and he just bumped into him. Now, that's not me defending him. It's me turning around and saying he made a mistake, but what he did was completely wrong. Also, he overtook Hamilton when he did that.
Yeah.
There is a shot where his wheels are in front of Hamilton's wheels. So he overtook Hamilton under the yellow. So in theory, he should have been given a penalty for that as well. But when we come to the penalties that were dished out, and the Ferraris were given a 10-second stop-go penalty, I think they were given that penalty only after the situation with Hamilton's headrest had come to light.
Yeah.
And it felt as if, because we're getting to the headrest. Well, during the red flag, everyone got out of their cars. They all got back in their cars. And someone didn't put the headrest on Hamilton's Mercedes back in correctly. Or it worked its way loose.
We'll get onto that properly in a second, I think. Because that's a whole nother thread to be unpicked there.
But where the race director decided to pull or give Vettel a 10-second stop-go penalty, he saw Mercedes. I can't say he saw. In my view, Mercedes were compromised and so had to come in to fix a safety issue. So it was a perfect opportunity to write that and say, right, okay, Ferrari, if we leave this till the end of the race, we possibly could have a winner standing on that podium that won't be on that podium. And so we want the race result to stand correct.
Yeah.
And so instead of adding 10 seconds on at the end and having a faff around, it was just easier to pull him in at that decision there. But I feel as if Hamilton hadn't gone in, then maybe that 10-second stop-go would not have applied to Vettel at that time.
I get what you're insinuating, saying, thinking. My issue with that is the case, though, is that sort of behaviour really needs to... I mean, hell, Carlos Sainz getting his 3-place drop for last time out was mostly because he turned in twice. It wasn't really the collision. It was he turned, tried to make the guy blink, and then turned in and caused a collision. And you even had Massa calling for a ban like Grosjean had back in the day.
Yeah.
These are certain amounts of behaviours that you just don't want. You can't encourage. And you have to come down hard on this sort of stuff. Now, okay, maybe he didn't mean to collide with Hamilton, but he meant to go and gesture and gesticulate. I mean, there was no reason for him to do that other than to do that and get that across. Effectively unsportsmanly conduct. Now, he believes it was brake tested or whatever, sort of thing. Fine. But you weren't. We've got the telemetry to prove that wasn't the case. So you've driven into the back of him on your own account. You've then driven around to F and blind at him and caused another accident there as well. And a net result of, fine, Hamilton had the problem with a headrest, which, quite frankly, is largely caused by a red flag as a result of having to clean up the debris from Vettel's front wing. Still ends up coming out behind Thingy. So it didn't really help in that respect anyway. I mean, it made for an entertaining race for us because it put them on the same bit of track. That's all great. But I don't think Charlie's the kind of guy who's going to be making those decisions based on what he thinks best for the show. He's always been pretty straight-laced. He's always been, look, it's a safety issue. You've got to do it. It's this is a penalty for, whatever. And again, generally when we've been giving out penalties this season, they've let them get on with it unless there's absolute reasons for it,
Yeah.
But I just think on this instance, I just think that kind of behaviour has to. You've got to send a message to the entire grid, especially the young kids coming up now, that is unacceptable. You can't pull out, collide with the other driver, and then furthermore, point blank deny you did it.
Yeah.
And I think that hurts him as well. I mean, if he'd have come out afterward and says, okay, I've seen the video, my bad, I shouldn't have done this, but, heat of a moment, fine. You've taken your medicine, it's fine. But he's out there saying, Hamilton deserves a penalty, he brake tested me, I didn't do anything wrong. Arguing over the radio with his Ferrari mechanic, to the point when the Ferrari guy says, shut up, come into the pits, talk about it later.
Yeah.
When you get to that point, it's just like, it's a long season. Okay, he's left here 6 points ahead. He was 4 points ahead at that point. Even if Hamilton had won the race, sort of thing, he'd only been 18 points behind at worst.
Yeah.
If he didn't get into points, so he'd have been fine in that respect. But yeah, it's just that behaviour really isn't good enough, frankly. And again, 3 more points on his licence. He already had 6, so it's not like he's a little angel at the minute.
Do you think that they should have black flagged him then?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should have been a black flag. Or at the very least, called to race control during the red flag and been asked to explain himself.
Yeah, I would like to know whether he did it on purpose or not. Whether he actually meant to bang wheels with him, because you just can't do that.
No.
You can't do that. I honestly thought at the time it was a mistake. I still don't think he actually meant to hit him. But I don't think it was a conscious I'm going to hit you. But I just think in that heat of that moment, he literally saw red. Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he's a silly boy for it. Really is. Oh man, it's flipping annoying. I suppose if you just highlight that example, just 2 drivers, one bashes into another, unsportsmanlike conduct. Really, he should be black flagged. Doesn't matter who it is on that grid. It should. I mean, I suppose if you want to take, say, a boxing analogy sort of thing, it's like there's been a punch which was maybe borderline sort of thing. The bell's gone, and then you've gone and taken another swing at the guy. It's that sort of a thing, Yeah. Yeah, but instead of hitting him on the chin, you hit him in the nuts. Yeah, exactly. It's just, I'm pretty sure it's we love it because, it's the sort of thing we could see Senna. But like I said before, if he'd have clipped that car wrong and taken Hamilton's car out, I mean, again,
we've seen it before. You just catch the car the wrong way. You've got a broken suspension, a broken wishbone. Hell, what if Hamilton had gone into the wall and then gone across the track, and then all of a sudden the rest of the field is caught, and you've got an F2 situation again where they've all got to go around him.
Yeah.
You're telling me that's just going to be a 10-second stop and go then as well?
Yeah.
And I don't think the outcome of it matters. Well, what matters is the incident itself. And again, I don't want stuff like that to interfere with the thing. And I'm grateful we got the really close race at the end between the two, where they're hunting each other down. That was great. It was awesome entertainment, and I loved it. But at the same time, I've got to be honest. And it's just like, you can't pull that sort of shit. You just can't.
No. Yeah, he should have been black flagged for that, and then that would have been it. That would have been the punishment, because now then. Well,
either black flag him for that, or you ban him from the next race. But the penalty's got to be harsh enough that you cannot do that and still end up finishing ahead of the person you rammed, effectively.
Yeah. Do you think the 10-second stop go was harsh enough for what he did? Bearing in mind it was under a safety car, bearing in mind it was at slow speed, and bearing in mind you're not going to flip a car doing it.
I mean, they've got a range of things they can do. I mean, you can do 5 seconds, 10 seconds, drive through, stop and go. And I think stop and go is the most extreme thing you can do while keeping the car in the race, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in that respect, fine, I suppose, given what the other options are. I mean, if it was just a 10 seconds added to his time, then definitely bang out of order. And again, if Lewis's headrest hadn't been an issue, I'm sure none of us would be really analysing it as much as we are doing there, outside of the fact that it was still just a damn dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's the effects on the race aside, and it's nothing to do with that at all. You just cannot behave like that. You can't let the red mist descend like that, especially when it's your own sodding fault.
Well, yeah, it turns out that way.
Again, if Lewis had brake tested him, fine. You've got grounds for being pissed, and absolutely, I've got a ton more patience for you there. It's like, all right, fine, because Lewis was out of order there doing that. I get that.
Yeah.
But when that's not the case, and that's demonstrably not the case now, and it's not Mercedes releasing this data. I'm just going to throw this in the chat for you to have a look at.
Oh yes, please.
This ain't Mercedes saying it; it's the FIA saying it. So. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're going to go through it like a fine-tooth comb anyway, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The other thing as well, though, because they've done this, is if it was something that was going to be added after the race, Mercedes can protest or do a thing. But now a penalty's been issued and served, they can't. There's no recourse from there.
Yeah.
It's done. It's moved on. So yeah.
So when did Vettel's? I'm just looking at this. Vettel's penalty points tally. In 2016 British Grand Prix, running Felipe Massa off the track, 2 points.
Yeah.
16 Malaysian Grand Prix, caused first corner incident with Nico Rosberg, 2 points. These 2016 Mexico Grand Prix, moving under braking.
Well, that's the Verstappen rule, which is now no longer enforced, isn't it?
That's right, yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now a potentially dangerous move on Lewis Hamilton. I mean, even then, at least now he's admitting it. He says, I drove alongside and then we had a little contact, but I drove alongside mostly to raise my hand. It's not the point, mate. It's not the point. You want to... You can't see anyone from inside the car.
But he also overtook him. And nobody's mentioned that at all. That hasn't been mentioned on Sky. No points for that at all whatsoever. There is definite footage of him overtaking him. And he should have been penalised for that as well.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Do you reckon he'll get a grid penalty for this, or is this situation done with now?
Situation's done at this point, I imagine.
Yeah.
He's been issued with a... I mean, you could have the stewards decide that the penalty wasn't lenient enough if Mercedes want to appeal it. but I get the impression Mercedes is just moving on from it. It's not going to change the outcome of the race, really. At least not the race they've just had. So I think I'll just leave it and move on.
Okay. Should we do the same?
Oh, I suppose we probably should, I suppose. It has been done.
There's a lot to come still.
Well, I was going to say we're only on what lap bloody...
I don't even know what lap we're on. But the positions as they stand in the red flag, we have Hamilton, Vettel out front. Got Massa, Stroll.
We're only on lap 21, by the way.
Right, okay. So we're not even halfway through yet.
No.
Got Massa in third, Stroll fourth, Ricciardo fifth, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Alonso up in eighth, Sainz and Grosjean. So that's your top 10 so far.
Uh-huh.
As the red flag.
Yeah. So we all piled into the old pit lane and parked up in there as they do.
Mm-hmm.
You had Force India replaced Ocon's tyres and Perez's front wing, fixing up that mess from the previous safety car, effectively.
Yep.
Ferrari replaced Vettel's front wing and fixed Kimi's floor, although Ferrari had to get special permission from race control to fix the wing in the under red flag circumstances on the safety grounds.
So why did they give him a penalty? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Understand.
Mercedes also did some work on Hamilton's rear diffuser, which was quite funny. You saw him out there with some gaffer tape and a bloody set of pliers.
Yeah.
Other drivers got out of their cars to talk to their engineers, team principals, had some drinks, and no doubt used the toilet.
Yeah, nice one, actually. Tyres were changed.
Ocon, I think, was the only one who changed tyres.
I thought they weren't allowed to.
I think that's because...
I thought under red flag...
Wait, Ocon might have had to do it under safety grounds as well, though, because of the collision.
Yeah.
Because he probably had a puncture after that.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, it wasn't a long red flag. It was 20 minutes. I mean, God, nothing like Canada 2011 where it was, 2-3 hours?
At least, yeah. Still have the DVD of that.
Fun times. But yeah, 20-minute red flag, and it was safety car start. You see, I thought after red flags and stuff like that, they were going to do standing starts.
I thought that was coming in, or it might be coming in next year.
Okay. I thought it was coming in for this year, but...
Yeah, unless that's a wet weather thing.
Oh, yeah, that might be it. Maybe it's a wet weather thing.
But, yeah, it could be a wet weather thing. But would you have wanted a restart in this situation?
Not really.
I
don't think the field would have stood up to it, to be honest.
No, we might have lost even more. I think the safety car going round was quite good enough anyway.
I don't have a problem with safety car starts, to be perfectly honest. I think it is just when it's wet. But anyway. We had the red flag period. They went off again. Hamilton's off in the lead from Vettel, Massa, Stroll, and Ricciardo.
Yep.
And it's about now, all of a sudden we start notice there's something not quite right with Hamilton's car.
Well, can we just do the restart first?
Okay.
Because Hamilton left it almost until the safety car line to actually put his foot down. He left it a lot later. He went around the last corner and really held them up until he put his foot down. Maybe to get Vettel passed by someone else, I don't know. But we had a fantastic start from Ricciardo, who overtook 3 cars in one move. He overtook...
Well, considering he was down at 17th after the first lap, that ain't half bad.
No, but on the restart, cold tyres, cold brakes, he's overtaken... He put a pass on all 3 cars, both the Williams, and I think it was a McLaren as well, that he overtook going into that first call. 3 cars! It was amazing, and he kept it going. I think there was a little lock-up that he gave us, but that was about it. And it was just exceptional. It really was.
Oh, God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely exceptional. And I actually wrote in my notes, Ricardo, wow. It's like the wow mark.
You mean you didn't write fantastic?
No.
In your best Mario Walker impression.
No. We had Hulkenberg hit the wall.
Yes, that was a shame. But I think he hit the wall because he had brake problems or something.
Possibly. Possibly. But he came over the radio just saying, yeah, it was my fault, clumped the wall. Which was, he was doing quite well at that time. He was up in the top 10, as I mentioned earlier, and he was looking quite strong. And it's just a clumsy, I think he caught the apex a bit too sharp and just tapped the wheel enough just to bend it back on itself. So he was out. So that was a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Massa had rear damper problems.
Yeah.
And he sadly had to retire from the race.
Yeah, it was a real shame. He was doing quite well, Massa.
Yeah. But wasn't this the point where we saw the headrest problem?
It was about now we started seeing Lewis's headrest. It didn't seem too bad at first, did it? It just seemed to be like just a crack out, like it just wasn't seated properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it was just getting worse as things carried on. But it definitely seemed to be riding up, and there was the risk that it potentially could fly out.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen it before in Formula One, but apparently it's happened in F2 before, where headrest just gone. And yeah, fair play to Charlie. He gave Mercedes a couple of laps to just see if Lewis could do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But since his thoughts of what to do about it was to just hold it down the straights, they were told they had to come in and change it.
Yeah, so one thing I got from the headrest, right? This will be going back to a Shonky Lab where we did cosplay. I was surprised on how squishy they are.
It really was, wasn't it?
I was really surprised on how squishy it was. And then it got me thinking, okay, what is that coated in?
Yeah.
But, I digress on what I was thinking then. But I'm glad to see that he was pulled in for this. Not because it pulled him out the lead of the race, because it is a safety issue and you have to be serious with safety.
Absolutely.
It's good that they gave Mercedes a couple of laps to try and sort it. But obviously, if he'd had a side impact or in any impact whatsoever, his health and safety could be compromised.
Yeah. Well, not only his. Again, if it flew off down the straight and, clocked another car, it's not going to be fun, is it?
No, definitely not, no. So, so they pulled him in for that. At this time, the Ferrari was given its 10-second stop-go penalty.
Yeah.
So Hamilton went in and came out, 8th or 9th, was it?
He was just behind Alonso, I think.
Right.
I think it was 8th, yeah. Because, the speculation was he was going to come out ahead of Bottas, but it turned out he wasn't. It was a quick stop for what it was. They got them switched over pretty quick, and he was gone. They didn't bother doing any tyres or anything like that. They just did the headrest and off he went.
Yeah. Which surprises me because he was ahead of Vettel when he came in. So that must have taken longer to change than the stop-go penalty itself.
It must have been long. It didn't seem like it was longer than 10 seconds, but must have been.
Yeah.
Either that or Vettel was able to put in a cut because he didn't come in straight away when he was cold for the penalty. He stayed out for 2 or 3 laps, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he dived in and dived out, and that was that. He came out ahead of Lewis.
Right. And quite a way ahead of Lewis as well.
Yeah, it was. I don't. It didn't feel like Lewis's stop was 10 seconds, but maybe it was. It's just because they're doing something on the car as opposed to when you're just sitting there.
Yeah, it feels like an eternity when you're just sat there waiting for someone with a stopwatch to say go.
Yeah.
What else did we have? Yeah, we had the headrest, Hamilton coming in for the pits. And hang on. Yeah, Hamilton came out in 9th when he, after Vettel had his stop-go penalty. Then, with the stop-go penalty, Vettel was on the radio, because I know you've already mentioned this, but he was saying, when did I do dangerous driving?
Yeah.
Honestly, you can't remember when you did some dangerous driving. The whole world knows when you did the dangerous driving. Now, maybe it could be a case of him just, in a car accident, if you hit someone or if someone hits you, even if it is your fault, it's your fault, you're still not really meant to turn around and say, yes, I admit to it straight away.
Well, yeah.
Because that's what you do. That's what your insurance people want you to say. It could be a case of damage limitation as to, well, I don't remember it, so maybe you guys won't. Wavy hand, wavy hand, wavy hand.
These aren't the droids you're looking for. You can go about your business. Move along. Move along.
Oh, dear. But yeah, he had to come in for his stop-go penalty.
Yeah.
Raikkonen and Perez had drive-throughs.
Yeah, they did, for the aforementioned working on the cars during the red flag, whatever's.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to do that. Like I said, Kimi was really not having a good day today.
No. Such a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Really was.
But yeah, I mean, in all this confusion, all of a sudden, wait, what? You have Ricciardo in the lead and Lance Stroll in second. With Magnussen in third.
Yeah, which was... when did this happen?
It was literally a, wait, what?
Oh, dear. It was good, though. Good to see different people up front. And Stroll didn't look uncomfortable up there.
No, he didn't. I mean, fair play to him. We, and by we, I mean I, have been maybe a bit more vocal in my does he deserve to be in Formula One comments. I still don't think this was necessarily the be-all and end-all, the drive of a champion like some people were making it out to be. No, he lucked into a lot of this because massively high attrition. His teammate was running ahead of him prior to his suspension failure.
Yeah.
Again, you got the issue with Lewis, the issue with Vettel, and all of that there sort of thing. So, I mean, realistically, again, wishes were horses and all that to be in the back of the McLaren. But I think it will go a long way to calm him down, maybe, like to give him the confidence.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to start going around making out like his shit don't stink and pretending he is the next best thing. Just keep your head down, get some good results for the rest of the season, and then you've earned your seat for next year.
Yeah.
This alone doesn't make up for everything this season, as it were. And I know you get a pass for a lot of it because it's your first season in Formula One. You're very young, but you've got to bear in mind, Massa was retired at the beginning of the season, sort of thing, and literally brought back at the last minute, and has frankly run rings around the boy.
Yeah.
So, we really, he's supposed to be the next Verstappen.
Yeah.
That's what he's there. It's Lance Stroll, Stoffel Van Dorn. They were brought in because they were literally supposed to be the new Verstappens for those teams, respectively.
That's right, yeah.
And again, there was this big push. It's all about the young guns now. The old guard have got to get out of the way. We're just not seeing that, though. So I don't begrudge him a podium. Well done. Well deserved. At the end of the day, to finish first you have to finish. And, again, I would like to see the last corner just to see what Bottas did to be able to get by him at the end.
Well, yeah, should we talk about this then? Might as well.
Well, we may as well. Basically nothing else really happened in the race. You had Vettel and Hamilton making a charge through to catch up to Bottas, who were also charged through.
And the Saubers touching each other as well.
The Saubers were touching each other inappropriately, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk very quickly about the Saubers before we get up to the front end.
Okay.
So, you got Alonso. At one point was running up in fifth, but basically Alonso was ahead of the Saubers. Stoffel was behind the Saubers. And Sauber, I'm not sure why, but they decided to swap Ericsson and Wehrlein round because Wehrlein had a better chance of getting Alonso or something. I don't know.
Hang on. So we've just had a manager leave a team because they want to favour Ericsson, and now they're swapping them around.
Well, they swapped him around, but it was made very clear. It was a condition that if he didn't get by, they'd swap him around again to give Ericsson the point.
Right.
So even though Wehrlein was running in the point, it was made very clear that it would be swapped around. But basically, Stoffel Vandoorne was too close at the end to allow them to do the swap. Because if they tried to swap, he'd have picked them both and got them the last point.
Right.
So they couldn't do that. So Ericsson apparently was furious about this. And as you said, they did rub wheels. They touched inappropriately. I'm not sure if that was before or no, that was lap 38 they did that. And that just seemed clumsy, to be honest.
Yeah. It's unnecessary. It really is.
It really is. And again, Sauber's not a team that needs any turmoil. It needs some stability right now.
Yeah. Well, they touched last year. I know it was Nasser and Ericsson, but they touched last year at Monaco.
That's very true. Yes, they did. So yeah, it is a shame, but there you go. But anyway, now we can get back up to the front end. So again, Ricciardo's out in front. He's pretty much gone. He's got it in the bag. He's pretty much just controlling the race. The Red Bulls have been looking good all weekend. It was a shock that they got up in the front, but once they were out in front, nothing was going to catch them. So that's fine. But Lance Stroll, up in second place, had a bit of a buffer over first Magnussen, but then Bottas, because Bottas was on a charge. And it worked out that Bottas was going to catch him on the last lap. And we were all like, ooh, it's going to be interesting. But then it was like, no, he's not going to, because he's not closing up fast enough. But then all of a sudden, Bottas had a couple of 2 seconds a lap, closing up on him. And then it just boiled down to the fact, into the last turn, Ricciardo's gone out, he's won. Lance Stroll second, Bottas third. By the time they got to the line, though, Bottas had taken him. So I'm curious as to what happened there, because that's the same Mercedes engine in the back of that Williams.
Yeah. Do you know what my initial thought was?
Did you think Toto Wolff had been on the phone?
No. My initial thought was Lance Stroll was celebrating, going, "Yay, I finished second." Hands in the air and lifted off. I don't think that's the case, though. I think Bottas just got a magnificent toe off of him.
Apparently he made up 2 seconds in the last sector.
That's a lot.
I wonder if his tyres were going off, if Lance Stroll's tyres had gone.
Possibly.
Because I don't think he pitted after the red flag, so they all went one stopping, so that was about lap 24, was it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, tyres were probably right at the end of their life, probably looking a bit second-hand at that point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, nothing to take it away from him. He got a podium, which was great. But, I mean, you had a hard-charging Vettel and Hamilton right behind him. I mean, we did have Hamilton on the radio begging Mercedes to have Bottas slow down to back Vettel into him, but they just turned around and said, yeah, Bottas wants to beat Stroll, and we don't want to give Vettel DRS, so computer says no.
And exactly, this is why they said no, because if he'd backed off and tried to help Hamilton, wouldn't have got the second place.
No, yeah.
Good decision.
Absolutely good decision. And yeah, well done to Bottas. I mean, again, he was dead last at the end of the first lap, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A lap down.
He was bang last, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought, because you had the incident on the very first corner as well, with Kvyat going wide, and then this on the line. It was a race to the line. We haven't had a race to the line for any position for a long, long time that we've caught on camera.
I can't remember. And again, for a podium place, literally down to, I mean, yeah, it's magnificent. That was. And yeah, that was good. That was.
Yeah, it was the last 100 meters. You saw the toe take effect as well. And I think if he had lifted off, you would have seen there would have been a dramatic closing speed. The closing speed was great, but if it lifted off, then it would have been different. If you look at it from Bottas's point of view, you can see that Stroll didn't lift off whatsoever. Or it didn't seem like he did anyway to me.
You see, I wonder if the fact that there was so little grip is what led to just this great racing. I mean, again, cars were following. Cars were able to get the toe. When was the last time we saw a Formula One car successfully slipstream?
Properly, yeah.
And we were seeing it. I mean, it wasn't as good as we saw at Le Mans last week, but they were doing it.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case of just bringing a grade harder tyre than what you were allocated.
I think it was partly that, and I also think it was the fact that they were running very low downforce because of the long straights. Yeah. So again, there was a lot less aero. So again, just the cars had a lot less grip overall, and because of that, they were able to, to follow, to race. Because it's the thing. Whenever someone complains about a circuit not being fit, and I hold up my hands when I point at a certain South of France race in this thing, it's not really the track, it's the cars using the track. It's the formula that's not working. So, yeah, maybe it's just a case that they need to sort out the cars and, things like, really simplify the aero, get away from this problem of dirty air, just making the ability, get rid of all these complicated winglets and elements on the front wing, just so they can race. And again, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. This was the quintessential lights to flag drama race, wasn't it?
This is the race Liberty Media want every race to be.
Yeah.
They want this every race just for the amount of, who in their right mind would have pegged a podium of Ricciardo, Bottas, Stroll?
No, not in a million years.
No, not in a million years. So this is definitely what Liberty Media want Formula One to be. And, with a bit of luck, come 2020, this is what we will have.
Yeah. No, I'm well impressed. So Ricciardo wins. That's his fifth career victory.
Yes.
Stroll.
And incidentally, everyone has been from outside the top four.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
He's never won from the top three positions. So there you go.
Yeah. Stroll becomes the youngest rookie ever to hit the podium as well.
Uh-huh. Not the youngest person, but the youngest rookie.
Yeah. Which is good. I'm really glad for him. I, like yourself, have been quite harsh on him. I think after the first four races, we were a bit okay.
But there's only two things we've been harsher on. One is Jolyon Palmer, the other's McLaren.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I totally agree with what you said about him. I'm hoping that he'll use his Canada and this result to springboard the rest of his season. And there's no reason why that can't happen. He out-qualified his teammate for the first time. So that's a step up as well.
I mean, for me, by the end of this season, he needs to be beating Massa regularly.
Yes.
To show to me that he has the potential to be the next Verstappen or to be that kind of a driver.
The torch has passed in Williams.
Yes.
That's what they need.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Absolutely brilliant, I thought.
Oh, God, yeah.
The total opposite of what I was expecting. It's not that I wasn't looking forward to this race. I think after the F2 races that I saw and qualifying, I was up for it, but I was just tempering my excitement because it could have been a dull fest. But it's the opposite of what I was actually expecting to get, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Right. Top 10 drivers or constructors, what would you like to run through? Or top 5, sorry.
I'll do. Oh, should we do the top 10 as they finished? We've not done that yet.
I've got the top 5, so.
Well, I have a top 10, so haha. I will tell the people the top 10.
Go on in.
Actually, you know what? Since there was only 12 people actually finished, I may as well do all of them. So, well, actually, what did Grosjean actually finish? Anyway, so the last person. Okay, so the last person classified was Kimi Räikkönen, 14th in the Ferrari, although he did stop on lap 46.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Grosjean was a lap down in 13th. Then we had Stoffel van Dorn in 12th, Marcus Ericsson in 11th. The top 10 was Pascal Wehrlein in the Sauber. And again, those three were only separated by about a second.
That's right.
So it was pretty close at the end. Then we had Fernando Alonso 9th with McLaren's first points of the season and his own.
Hurrah!
So, well, hurrah! But I mean, you look at the faces around McLaren. I'll give McLaren this. At least they aren't pretending like this was a good thing.
That's correct. Yeah.
You know, it was no one was pretending this was a race win. You know, they were okay second, but as Fernando Alonso said, with a Renault engine, they could have probably won. So
yeah. He did come across and say that on the radio, didn't he?
He did. 8th was Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso. Then Kevin Magnussen, who just pretty much got eaten up by everyone. You know, he was running in third for so much of a race, but then dropped like a stone. Esteban Ocon in the Forced India was 6th. Then Lewis Hamilton was 5th. Sebastian Vettel was 4th. Lance Stroll was 3rd. Bottas 2nd. And Danny Ricciardo in his sweaty shoeies was there in 1st. And can I just say, how disturbing was it to see David Coulthard undoing his shoes? I mean, I was uncomfortable at that moment.
It was okay. You're just waiting for a curtain to draw across, weren't you?
Bow, 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 bow. I don't think Daniel Ricciardo realised what was going on there either. He's just like, I need an adult. I need an adult.
David, my eyes are up here.
Exactly. So yeah.
Okay.
And Lance Stroll didn't seem to enjoy it either.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, he didn't want to, but you know.
He didn't. Peer pressure is a terrible thing.
Oh yeah. Next he'll be smoking.
I know, right?
Okay.
So, do you want to do the champion standings?
I'll do the drivers. You do the constructors.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go from 5 to 1. In 5th place, we have Kimi Räikkönen dropping a place. Daniel Ricciardo going up 1 place into 4th. Valtteri Bottas holding on to 3rd with 111 points. Lewis Hamilton in 2nd position with 139 points. And Sebastian Vettel still leading and gaining a little bit of an advantage after finishing above Lewis Hamilton in this race. He's still first with 153 points.
Nice. All right. Well, constructors, Williams are now 5th, having displaced Toro Rosso. Force India are still sitting pretty in 4th. Red Bull Racing are 3rd. Ferrari are 2nd. Mercedes still out of front with 250 points from Ferrari's 226.
Right.
But again, as we said, McLaren now have points, so all of the teams have a point.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes.
That's
and
good.
if they have 3 more, they'll be able to overtake Sauber.
Well, there's still plenty of time, I feel. Right.
Possibly.
I'm going to get onto the predictions, because this is going to be something exciting, I feel. Right. Do you remember what you predicted?
Why do you ask? You know I never do.
I feel like I'm obliged. I'm contractual obliged to ask these questions.
Yeah, or to answer the question, no, I don't remember.
Okay, right. Well, for pole position, you picked Hamilton.
Hey, I get a point.
You get a point, so well done. I picked Vettel and get no points for that whatsoever.
No point.
For the race, you went for Hamilton as well, so you went for the clean sweep. Alas, he did not.
I'm pretty sure I said Ricciardo at the time, but then I thought, nah, the Red Bulls just aren't going to be there. Should have trusted me gut.
Well, would you like to know who I predicted?
Was it Ricciardo?
It was Ricciardo.
Ah!
I put Vettel in brackets because I thought he would win, but I felt something was going to happen at this race and put Ricciardo down. And that's on tape. Rewind your tapes from last week, 2 weeks ago, people, if you don't believe me. I said it there. So I get a point for Ricciardo. Get in. How'd you like them apples? How'd you like them apples? Right, this one is a decider because we said nearest the pin on this.
Okay.
It was, where's Palmer going to finish? And I went for 10th place.
Mm-hmm.
You went for 15th place. Now,
I don't think either of us can take a point for this because he didn't finish.
Okay. Are you sure? Because you get a point. You're losing a point.
I am losing a point, but I don't think in good conscience I could take it because, like I said, it says, where does he finish?
Yeah.
And he did not.
You sure you don't want a dirty point?
You're in the lead in a minute, aren't you?
I think I am, yeah.
Yeah, go on. I'll have a dirty point.
Oh, yeah.
I admit it's the dirty point, but you know what? I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
If I win by 1 point, though, put an asterisk. If I win by 1 point at the end of this, you can point to this and say, that was it. That was it there.
Yep, and it will be sullied for the rest of your life.
It will be. It will be like there was a double points finish at some point. And, that's just...
Excellent. Right, what we got next time out? We got Austria.
We are Austrian Grand Prix, yes. The A1 ring, although they insist on calling it the Red Bull ring.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's not. It's the A1 ring.
Yeah.
Right. Stats from last year.
Yeah, go on then, please.
Pole position was Lewis. And the podium was Hamilton from Verstappen from Raikkonen. And the fastest lap was also Hamilton. So, it seems that last time out, the Mercedes did pretty good. In fact, Mercedes have won every year since it came back in 2014.
Right. Yes, because there was a chance Williams could have won it 2014 as well. I think I'm right in thinking that it was the top four were Mercedes powered in 2014.
Yeah, well, it was. You had Massa on pole from Bottas, and then Rosberg was qualified third, and yeah, it finished Rosberg, Hamilton, Bottas, Massa.
Ah, there we go. And last year, Sebastian Vettel burst a tyre while in the lead, and this is also where the Mercedes clumped together on the very last lap.
It is. They went bumpety bump.
Yeah. So, okay. So, predictions. Since you got 2 points this race, one being a dirty one, who would you like on pole position, or who do you think will get pole position?
It's getting competitive now.
It is now.
It's now.
Like Hamilton and Vettel at the beginning of the season. It's all, look, we're battling for this. Now it's come down to, we've got races.
So I've just pulled up alongside and clumped you.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I would never do a thing.
Of course not. You know what? I'm going to go with Bottas.
Ooh.
Bottas for pole.
Okay. Interesting. I am going to go for Hamilton. Okay, yeah. Hamilton for pole position. What about race? Who do you predict to win the race?
Ooh. I'm going to go Bottas again.
Oh, okay. Bottas.
It's been a bit of a bogey circuit for Lewis. And again, if it wasn't for the collision, odds are Rosberg might well have won it last time out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with Bottas because he's done, when it was with Williams and everything, he was doing quite well with them there. So
yeah. Okay, yeah, it'd be good. And he's had a good result in this race as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, I like your thinking. Damn. Okay. For the win, I will go with... now, okay, I don't actually want him to win this race, but I think it will be Vettel.
Not Kimi?
No, not yet. Kimi's not there yet. He was, and now he's not. So, I think Vettel. Third column. What should we have for the third column?
Ooh, decisions. Shall we do, since it's at the Red Bull ring, highest finishing Red Bull?
Okay. just over each other, not the actual position itself, just who's going to cross the line first, yeah?
No, I think position. So it doesn't matter which Red Bull, it's just what position are they in. But a bonus point if you correctly name the driver.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
It's a point if you just say a Red Bull will be second.
Yeah.
It's 2 points if you say it's Ricciardo's Red Bull second.
Okay. Go on then. Who are you going to have then?
All right, I'm going to go with Ricciardo.
Yep.
And I'm going with fourth.
Oh, God damn it. Okay. I'm gonna go second, and we get a bonus point for this as well. Then, yeah.
Yeah, basically. So if it's Ricciardo who comes second, you'll get a point for that.
Yep.
But if it's second and you've said Verstappen, then you get 2 points. But if it's second and Ricciardo, you only get 1.
All right, I'm going for second and Verstappen.
Okay.
Interesting.
Is that nearest the pin, or is that?
Sod it. Yes. I know I've really.
And if they finish third, we'll flip a coin.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're crackling, by the way, but yeah, that's all locked in now. So I have written that down in pen, so that can never be rubbed out because we all know the blue part of the rubber never works.
Of course not.
That's right. So the A1 ring. Are we looking forward to this one?
I want to say yes because it's a classic, old school circuit, but ever since Tilke got his hands on it, it's just been a bit. The last few races have just been a bit meh. But again, new formula, new cars.
Yeah.
Never know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to this one. I feel Formula One may have turned a slight corner. And people are getting to grips with these cars a little bit more than what we actually thought they would be. And they seem to be coming in alive a little bit more. So I think this is going to be another frantic race. Maybe not as fulfilled as this one that we've just had in Azerbaijan, but I feel that we will get a good race out of this.
Yeah.
So I am really looking forward to this, which is surprisingly because I generally
you've not been a big fan of it, have you?
Don't like the actual track itself. There's just something wrong with it. But I'm bow to the thoughts or people above me on that one. They know better than me, so let them carry on and do what they want to do. So I'm looking forward to that. That's in 2 weeks' time, isn't it?
Yes, that is 2 weeks' time. Yes.
Good. Okay. Right. Well, I think that concludes this race. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug for the people out there?
Yeah, you can find me on Space Dock Jury, which is spacedockjury.com, and on iTunes and all those sort of places and everything where myself, Lee and Peter argue about Lego spaceships. Seems to be the way we're doing things at the minute. And at some indeterminate point in the future, we're going to do the Band of Brothers podcast when we can finally make the stars align and, get to the drop zone.
Yeah, got tripped up this weekend.
A little bit.
Alas. And
bloody idiots getting stuck in the lift.
Oh, bloody idiots. Idiots. But, that's just one of them things, I suppose.
Yes.
One day we'll get another one out, but we haven't finished on that, so please pop along there and listen to that. I, on the other hand, am on the Black Dog podcast. You can listen to that on the Black Bob podcast. Black Bob. The Black Dog Podcast.com or iTunes and any other podcatchers you like. Also, you can find me on ShonkyLab, which is shonkylab.com. And I've just released an episode actually on driving, and I'm joined by Mr. Ollie Peters and Mr. Pete Hammond. and we talk about all aspects of driving, from passing our test, first cars, first accidents, and what really annoys us. So please pop along there, give it a listen. It's all in iTunes and other podcatchers as well. And 5-star ratings on this would be grand if you are popping along to iTunes at some point. So, just help us up a magical ladder that doesn't really exist. It helps spread the word for us and get us more listeners, really, like yourselves.
Ooh. I've just had a thought.
Ooh.
We forgot to do something at the beginning. So we could either do it now or just do it next week.
Okay.
Well, we forgot to mention that they've announced the calendar, which includes the return of a couple of important races.
We'll leave that for next week, I feel.
All right, next week. Yeah. Tune in next week.
Yeah.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Nice. Yeah, we'll do that for the next week. Put that in your notes, ready to go.
Right, yeah. Wait, you think I write notes for this thing?
Yeah, I thought you might. Yeah. I
don't have a laser engraved notebook.
Yeah, I do. Anyway, getting off topic. Join us next time for the Austrian Grand Prix, and we'll bring you all the action from there. So until next time, thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Ta-ra!